What's up, YouTube? It's Sea-Dog Plumsky here, bringing you my first video to the Plum Wild Garage channel. And if you clicked on this video, you're wanting to know more about long tube headers, a 5.7 Hemi, this, that, and the other, and I'm here to tell you what you need to know. So thank you, first of all, for clicking on the video. Let's go ahead and get right on into the live action. This is my 2016 Ram 1500 Tradesman. It's got the 5.7 Hemi in it, and I'm making this video because there's a couple things you need to know, you have to know, before you put long tube headers on this truck. And another thing is, I don't want to see or hear anything in the comments about the stock wheels. They ride like a Cadillac. I just put them back on because the 35s feel like I'm off-roading or I'm riding on gravel 24/7. So just got that out of the way. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get the hood popped, get right on into it. So the first thing is, it's not really too big of a deal, very easy, but you want to know before you actually install, is the steering rack right down here. Come on, focus up. There you go. It's literally like less than a 1/4 inch away. You can see it's almost hitting the header right there. When I turn left and right, sometimes it does give it a little love tap, but it's not hurting nothing. It never really stopped the truck by any means. So if anything, if you can, before you install these headers, take a hammer or a marker, mark where the steering rack is going to be touching, and then take a hammer and just hammer this header cylinder, just this one cylinder port, back in a little bit. You know what I mean? Just make a little indentation so that when this is turning, there's no way it's going to hit that. I should have done that, but I didn't know this was in the way until after I finally got to drive it. So learn from my mistakes. Just take this, dent it in a little bit. This will not be an issue for you. All right, so now we got that out of the way. Another thing, this is the most important thing you have to know about this job or this modification you want to do to these trucks or this motor, whatever. Your brake lines, all 4 of your brake lines, go straight down and run on the inside of your frame rail. And what I mean by that is, your frame here, your brake lines come down and they're literally on this side. Well, what's on this side? Your long tube headers that you just installed are over here as well. I heat wrapped the headers up, I heat wrapped the brake lines up, and I figured it would be great. And here we are 2 years later, and I'll show you more once we get down in there what I'm actually talking about. But here we are 2 years later, I suddenly don't have brake fluid going to my passenger rear wheel. So I put all this money into replacing the brake pads, the rotors, the calipers. I even replaced some brake lines in the back. I took it to a shop to get those brake lines even reflared just to make sure. And I even had the truck automatically bled there, and they still couldn't get fluid out of this. And then so they took a look at it, and they said that my long tube headers have heated my brake line that runs apparently all the way over there, but it's heated it to the point where it's collapsed on itself. It hasn't popped a hole or nothing, but it's just collapsed. So which kind of makes sense why I don't have fluid over there. But so like I said, you need to know that your brake lines are running on the inside. Same with your long tube headers. And the shop quoted me $1,200 for them to rerun all 4 of them on the outside of the frame. And then at that point, you would probably see, I know I got a bunch of wiring. That's another thing I'm going to take care of, but that's not today's video. But all your brake lines will probably run on the outside of this frame rail right here and be exposed from like whatever tires you do, or like whatever wheel setup you have. So if you do a bunch of off-roading and stuff, I don't know if putting your brake lines on the outside is really ideally what you want to do, but suit your own. Everybody can do what they want to do to their own vehicles, but I just wanted to put that out there. That's something you need to know before you actually commit to doing this truck. If you're cool with it, so by all means go for it. Let her rip, brother. But another thing, so that's 2 things: the steering rack, the brake lines. Third thing, the PCM. I had to send my PCM off right down here. I sent that off to HP Tuners because the truck, like I said, it's a 2016 and all this fancy stuff does not like to be messed with. So I had to send it to them to get unlocked, and then they sent it back to me. So note, once I had all this stuff done, and taken care of. Hello, Ruby. But the truck was down for a week at least, just sitting in the parking lot, and I was just staring at it, wishing I could drive it. While like I did all this work to it, and now I can't do anything to it. You know what I mean? Like the key fob wouldn't even work. So, but once I finally got it back, I took it to my old boss, and he just tuned it with HP tuners by his computer. And what I mean by that is he got like credits from them, and I paid him for however many credits it needed to tune this truck. And it was at least 3, so I think it was like at least $150 extra, and then whatever labor they charge, because not everybody tunes, you know, everybody has different rates and this, that, and the other. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Your PCM will need to be unlocked, and your truck will need to be tuned, so that's just some extra money. So you'll probably at least be spending another $250 on top of the long tube headers, and on top of whatever else you've done with brake lines and this, that, and the other. So, but another thing, 4 things actually. This is number 4. The long tube headers that are on the truck, I got them from Dynamic Tuning Performance. I think that's the brand. If you Googled it and looked up 5.7 Hemi, it would come up somewhere and you'd find it. But Dynamic Tuning Performance, their long tube header for this truck has 1 O2 port on each header. So it has a total of 2 oxygen O2 sensor ports. And the original exhaust system manifolds that I took off, they each had 2. So the truck had 4 before I messed with it, and then I went down to 2. So that was the reason why the truck needed to be tuned, because it wasn't reading right. It didn't like how much oxygen it was getting, or how rich it was running, or whatever it was. Like I didn't really get to see the fuel trim levels. But so that's another thing to keep in mind. I had to get the driver's side, I'm pretty sure, hooked straight up, just straight factory wire to the O2 position. But the passenger side, I think, was too short, like the wires did not reach, so I had to get an O2 wire extension, I think about 4-inch, 6-inch, to connect those two. But other than that, it's been dialed ever since. And if my truck looks any different than yours, it's just because I took the motor cover off, I took the PCV system off, like that hosing that went across, and I just put a crankcase filter on there, red to match the rough country intake. And if you guys want to see any more, actually I'll just get right into it. This is the OEM intake, and I got a rough country intake for it, but the intake temp sensor, it moved it relocated it to like the back over here. So like that was like an 8-inch difference, you know what I mean? And so the OEM wiring here obviously did not reach, because right here it's already pulling on it, you know. But so I got a wire extension here, didn't work, didn't like it, check engine light, couldn't tune it, couldn't fix it. All right, replace the wiring harness again, or that wire extension. I had a 4-inch, I had a 6-inch, I had a 10-inch, I had a 12-inch, and then I said enough is enough, right? Like how many times does anyone want to pay for that kind of stuff? So I put the OEM back on. This is not rough country, this part isn't, but I had the brand from the old new one, you know what I mean? But I put the OEM intake temp sensor back into the normal position where it was. Used the wiring. I replaced the intake temp sensor brand new, because after that point I messed with it here, I messed with it over there, and then I put it back over here. I just wanted it to be put back and be new and not be messed with, you know. But at that point, once I had this rough country intake on, this whole box and everything, it didn't line up where the OEM intake piping goes. So I had to go get a PVC elbow from, I think, Ace Hardware, and I pretty much just cut. The way this was like, it was like here flat almost, or like it was like here flat, and this piece wouldn't line up, so I had to cut like pretty much like this, an angled cut, and then when it comes in it goes straight up. The airflow just goes with each other, you know what I mean? And it allowed that to fit down on it. And I know I probably should have painted it black. I know it's kind of an eyesore being bright white in an engine bay, but you know what? I just don't pop the hood much. Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? So other than that, that's it for the engine bay with the long tube header application and the tune application. So let's go ahead and get underneath the truck, and I'll show you the rest of the exhaust system that I have on this truck. So if we get down underneath here now, if you remember me talking about them brake lines, here's a better example for you. long tube headers come down. Here's your brake lines running on the inside of the frame. I even heat wrapped the header, heat wrapped the brake lines. Here we are 2 years later. Now I don't have fluid going to my passenger rear wheel. It's because one of the brake lines has collapsed right here. And since it's winter time right now, I haven't really done much to it because the exhaust or the motor hasn't really been getting too hot, you know, rather than being in summer and the interstate's already 100 degrees or something. But before summer does come, I'm gonna have to get these replaced, and they're gonna be running on the outside of the frame out here. And then I guess maybe come in eventually down the road. But so got the long tube headers, they're running straight down. This one's over here. I didn't have any flanges or anything to connect to them, so I took it to a shop and they straight welded onto them. So there's no going back now. But I had them come back behind this cross member part of the frame and then right underneath the transfer case. So then when I go to take the transfer case off, if I have to, I still can get to it and access it, and it's not in the way of the exhaust at all, or the exhaust is not in the way of the transfer case at all. But knock on wood, I don't ever want to mess with it. I don't think anybody does. But so this is all 3-inch. The long tube headers come out 3-inch, and I put 3-inch, or I had them put 3-inch exhaust straight to it. They both run. There's the driver, or the passenger side runs straight. The driver's side runs underneath the transfer case, goes into a Y. And then I personally did a little bit of modification myself too here. Got rid of the mufflers, got rid of the resonators. I mean, you already know I got rid of the cats because of the long tube headers. But so this is just a straight 3-inch shot all the way back to the rear axle. And then to the rear axle, everything is factory from there. Everything is factory piping from there. I just got, like I said, I got rid of the resonators. And so the whole truck is long tube headers, 3-inch straight pipe all the way back. And I have a short on YouTube where people said it sounded really good. They wanted to know more about it. So that's kind of why I've been wanted to make this video for you guys, to show you exactly what I've done to it and what you need to do if you want to do the same. So let's go ahead and get this truck fired on up and see what she sounds like on a cold start. So I'm sure 90% of you guys watching this video already know that videos don't do justice for how loud things are. But we're gonna go ahead and start her up. This is the first start of the day, so it should be pretty loud. We'll see. All right. couple revs a day keeps the doctor away, you know what I'm saying? Sounds pretty good in my opinion. Before I end the video, you know what? I want to do a couple drive-bys for you guys so you can actually hear what it sounds like rather than just idling and revving and just from the YouTube short, because I wasn't driving anywhere. So let's go ahead and get right on into this. So I'll go ahead and get you guys set up, and the first pull, I'm just gonna do a normal daily casual pull like I would just from a stoplight, stop sign, whatever you want to call it. And then the next one, I'll act like somebody looked at me and wanted to race and I took it personally. So get ready for this. Well, I guess other than that, that's all I have for you for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed. Please leave a like, leave a comment. If you have any questions, concerns, let me know. I'll get back to you ASAP. I'd love to know what you think of the truck. Thanks again for clicking on the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And this is going to be the first of many to come. If you want me to make a series over this truck, whatever. If this does blow up, I will say this, if this video does blow up, I will supercharge the truck. Yeah, I'll put a Hellcat supercharger right on it, because the 6.4 Hellcat's bolts right on top of the 5.7 Hemi. So that could be a future video, but just let me know if you want to see that type of thing. And I guess that's it then. Take it easy, guys. I'll see you on the next one.